In this daily drop, I'm going to talk about the T-TAP Pro from AJA, so let's go. Okay, everybody, excited about this one, and this episode is sponsored by AJA. AJA Video Systems is a leading manufacturer of cutting-edge technology for the broadcast, cinema, pro AV, and post-production markets. To find out more, visit aja.com. All right, before I jump into this, I want to just also say that I have been using AJA products in some form or another for over 2 decades. And I remember back in the DVD authoring times, ancient times, we were using AJA solutions for a lot of the work there. And every single time I picked up the phone for support, it was almost immediate, it was extensive, it was amazing. And I think that not only the reliability of AJA's products, but also that support is what sets them apart in the industry. All right, so what is the T-TAP Pro? Well, it is part of their mobile I/O family of products. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this is that I wanted to talk about products that supported 4K production and post-production. And that's what this does. So what you have here on the back of the device is you have a Thunderbolt port. This is a Thunderbolt 3 device, though it is Thunderbolt 4 compatible. It has a 12G SDI out, an HDMI 2.0 out, and then it has a power supply port. And you need that because this thing's doing a lot under the hood. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the power supply and plug that in. And then in order to basically wake up the device and make sure it's ready for production, you need to take a Thunderbolt cable. I'm just plugging this in from my MacBook Pro, though this is a product that's compatible with Mac OS, Windows, and Linux on a PC. And we have on the front of the device an audio out, generally for monitoring through headphones, a volume knob so you can do that monitoring. And then I'm just going to go over here quickly to a piece of software that is part of the desktop software you download for this device. It's called Control Room, and I'm just going to start playback just so that you can see that the audio meters are live here and that we can see that. All right. So once this is plugged in and connected to your computer, these ports right here on the back of the device, the 12G SDI and the HDMI 2.0 ports, are always live, and they support up to DCI 4K at 60 frames per second. So what you're doing is you're taking your signal from your computer and using various applications or pieces of software to push out to external devices, monitors, or recorders that signal. Now, of course, it supports other resolutions and frame rates, but the fact is that you can use this, again, with workflows with DCI 4K all the way up to 60 frames per second. And what is it that you're using this for besides monitoring and external recording? Well, it has to do with the power of the hardware and the software working together from AJA to make sure that you can do things like 10 and 12-bit workflows, HDR, high frame rates up to 60 frames per second. And really what this is a workhorse device that you can use in various production and post-production environments that really gets you to a monitoring and a recording situation where you're retaining the quality of what's coming off of your computer system. All right, so what I want to do now is bring in some additional equipment so I can show you how this all works. We'll take a peek at some of the software that comes from AJA, and then we'll take a look at a couple of different applications of using the T-TAP Pro. All right, equipment officially brought in, and now we have an actual setup. And what I've done for this particular video is I've taken the 12G SDI out, and I have routed that to an external monitor recorder, which does support 4K recording. And I have also taken the HDMI out, and I have fed that to a UHD display. This is 3840 by 2160. So again, a pretty typical way of using this. Of course, we could be feeding production chip-based monitors, meaning high-end production-based monitors, because the T-TAP Pro does support 10-bit, 12-bit, HDR, all of that good stuff. But how do you interact with all of that with the T-TAP Pro? Well, first and foremost, what you want to do is go to AJA's support section of their website, choose the device, and then download the software, in this case, AJA's desktop software. And as mentioned earlier, that does include a number of different applications or utilities that you can use with the product. And what we're doing right now is taking a look at one of those pieces of software, which is called Control Room. And that's what's feeding the image to this and this at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, both of these ports are always live. And if I just start to play back that clip, you can see that playing back on the two different devices. The other thing to take a look at is the control panel software, which is really command central when it comes to the device itself. In fact, in order to get this output to these using Control Room, I went into the control panel app and I changed the input to the actual frame rate and resolution that I was actually using. So the clip that's coming out of Control Room is 3840 by 2160, so UHD, at 23.98. So I set it that way, and then that's what the outputs of this device are set to so that they can output that to these. Now, it's an incredibly deep application or piece of software when you're using the control panel. And it can be intimidating when you start to go through all of the features. But rest assured, when you're using this product with the various software solutions that it supports on your computer in terms of output, and that's not including Control Room, but the things that you'll be using like your NLEs and things for live streaming and audio workflows, so on and so forth, that when you're using those things and the control panel is active, it's looking for the output from those pieces of software, and most of this stuff can be set to auto. Most of those parameters can be overridden, but what you really want to make sure of is that there's a match between what's being sent out of your computer into the T-TAP Pro so that it can go out to your devices properly. I think that's basically it. It's important, as I said before, to download AJA's desktop software for this product. Make sure you do any firmware updates. Make sure that everything is up to date. And then there's great documentation. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, incredible support from AJA. And they are happy to provide it when you're using a product like this or their various other products in their portfolio of solutions. I think that's about it for today. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.